This conference will now be recorded.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'd like to open the October 19, 2020 Leavenworth Board of Zoning Appeals. All commissioners are present and accounted for, so we do have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the 17 August meeting. If everyone has had a chance to review those, are there any comments, questions, clarifications? If not, is there a motion to accept the meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. There's no old business, new business. 2020-34, BZA 3550 South 4th Street. Hold a public hearing wherein the applicant, St. John's Hospital, is requesting a variance from Section 810 of the adopted development regulations to allow more than one sign per side of the building. Staff report, please.
Yes. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow more than one sign on the wall of a property zoned R19, medium density single-family residential district. St. John's Hospital is located at 3550 South 4th Street. It's considered a semi-public facility. Our allowed signage as regulated and permitted in a neighborhood business district. The development regulations limit the number of wall signs allowed for each side of a structure or part of a structure clearly identified as a storefront to one sign. St. John Hospital has one existing wall sign on the east side, St. John Pavilion. The variance request is for an additional sign on the east side of the building. The proposed sign is located on the northeast portion of the building. I don't know if you can see it very well. Let's see. Go. Going to be proposed right here. It's roughly 52 square feet. I'm going to say urgent care. The proposed sign meets the size requirements of the NBD zoning district as allowed for hospitals. And that is all we have. Yeah, that's all I said.
Okay, any
Oh,
questions?
and also, there's a typo during the actions where it says approve or deny. It should say variance to allow more than one sign to the east side of the building at the very end.
Okay. Any questions of the staff report?
I find it interesting that this property is zoned R19.
Yeah, I am too. Not sure why it is. Because I was looking earlier. Let me.
I know if I've worked in planning cases across the nation, hospitals, schools, those kinds of public institutions are often zoned in residential districts. They don't have necessarily a different zoning. They're just permitted in whatever district that they desire to build in.
But I just find it interesting that no one has picked up along the line that we may have a non-conforming organization in an R19 district.
Well, we have it verbiage to allow public to semi-public facilities like schools and hospitals. I'm trying to think of what else is all considered. Oh, churches, yes, churches,
Okay.
which are also zoned, usually residential. We put that little blurb in there to consider them in the neighborhood business district regulations for signage.
Okay.
To kind of tie on to what Commissioner Gervasini was saying, in that, basically that entire block, University of St. Mary's, St. John's Hospital, the shopping center, gas station, Wendy's, Walgreens, I mean, there is not one single property in those streets that bound all those properties that are residential, and wouldn't you think it was time that maybe they redid the zoning map to properly account for the
So,
types of actions that are in there rather than having them be non-conforming?
okay, so we would have to initiate a full rezoning for everything. So we would have to go parcel by parcel and rezone them to the appropriate allocation.
Right. Well, I know the city has done that once before. Do you know, does it have any plans in the future to look at that again?
Not to start that process, no. No, because we're kind of sticking to these districts and haven't had any, well, the future plan is going to say, well, shit, go away, there we go. The future is just going to say that it's what we could for the future for it to be allowed.
What's USM?
University of St. Mary's.
Oh, thank you. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're not non-conforming in terms of zoning.
Correct.
Because those types of institutions are allowed in all zoning districts.
Correct.
So it's not non-conforming for zoning.
True, but the regulations they're using is for a neighborhood business district.
Right.
Right, that's what we referenced
So it
them
would be
for.
nice if it actually was that. Not to try and use some other designation that more properly fits it. We're just concerned.
Right, well, I see what you're saying. It would be a hurdle to have it, schools, churches, all of them to have their own district.
Not talking about that, just this one chunk of land that's been that way for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Anyway, any other comments or questions of the staff on the staff report? Will it be a lighted sign? I didn't see anywhere in there, and it didn't appear to be. It will be a lighted sign? Yes, sir.
It is.
Backlit, or the letters themselves, urgent care, will be lit?
Those letters themselves will be, it'll match the
Yeah.
Oh,
It's channel.
Good evening, I'm Sam Allred, I'm Director of Business Development at St. John and Providence Medical Center. And the sign will be lit in a similar fashion as the St. John Pavilion sign,
okay,
and running the same hours as well.
all right. Any other questions of the applicant? Well, he's, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, I'd like to open up the public hearing. So if anybody in the audience would either like to speak for or against this action, please go to the podium and state your name and your concerns. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and open it up for discussion amongst the board members. Any concerns or issues?
Notification of adjoining properties.
Did you get any response from any of the adjoining properties?
No, we did not.
Okay.
Okay.
And I believe in their statements, they also noted that none of the adjacent properties can see them or have any observance of their structure.
I would believe that. Okay. All right. We can go into the process now. A request for a variance may be granted upon the finding of the board that all of the following conditions have been met. The board shall make a determination on each condition, and the findings shall be entered into the record. First item, that the variance requested arises from such condition which is unique to the property in question and is not ordinarily found in the same zone or district and is not created by an action or actions of the property owner or the applicant. Commissioner Gervasini, if you'd like to start. I'll agree. Commissioner Kim?
Agree.
Agree.
Second, that the granting of the permit for the variance will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners or residences. Commissioner Baker?
Agree.
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 Third, that the strict application of the provisions of the development regulations from which the variance is requested will constitute unnecessary hardship upon the property owner represented in the application.
Agree.
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 And fourth, that the variance desired will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare.
Agree.
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 And lastly, that granting of the variance desired will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of the development regulations.
Agree.
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 We have 5-0 on the agreements. In granting a variance, the board may impose such conditions, safeguards, and restrictions upon the premises benefited by the variance as may be necessary to reduce or minimize any potentially injurious effect of such variance upon other property in the neighborhood and to carry out the general purpose and intent of the development regulations. Does any board member want to add anything to the approval?
I do not.
Okay, seeing none. Based on the vote, board is recommending approval of the variance.
If I could just make a comment, so I think as a board, we have established a precedent of allowing additional signage for large structures. Because I think if we took, for me, if we took this wording verbatim, then I would have a hard time approving it. But because we have established that precedent, and to me, doesn't make any sense to have one sign on a building this large, then, you know, that's the reason I'm voting in favor.
Next item, 2020-35, 924 South 4th Street. Hold a public hearing wherein the applicant, Kevin and Angela McHugh, are requesting variance from section 403, 4, and 105 of the development regulations to allow a reduction in the required side yard setback for an accessory structure, an increase in the maximum allowable size of an accessory structure, and the expansion of an existing non-conforming structure. Staff report, please.
All right. I'll make it stop spinning so y'all don't get dizzy. All right, there's that, baby. All right. The applicant is requesting a variance for sections 4.03E3, 4.04B3, and 1.05.C2 of the development regulations to allow an expansion of a non-conforming structure, an accessory structure larger than 900 square feet, and the reduction of the required rear yard setback. The applicant are requesting, so 1.05C2 requires any non-conforming structure may be enlarged, maintained, repaired, or remodeled, provided, however, such that no such enlargement, maintenance, repair, or remodeling shall either create an additional nonconformity or increase the degree of existing nonconformity of all or any part of such structure. And then another typo I had for 4.03E3. All accessory buildings in a residential district shall maintain a 3-foot side setback, a 3-foot rear setback to the nearest part of the structure. That is, no overhang may encroach on the setback. And then 4.4B3, for a single-family residential, a garage not to exceed 900 square feet on a parcel less than 1 acre. And then 1,200 square feet on parcels larger than 1 acre. Detached garages require construction of driveways to provide access in conformance with the parking provisions of the code. The existing garage currently is considered a legal nonconforming structure. The lot is located at 924 South 4th Street, which is currently zoned a multifamily residential district, RMF, operating as a single-family dwelling. The subject property is surrounded by the properties to the north and the northeast are zoned general business districts, and the properties adjacent here, I'll get over to that map so you can see what I'm saying. All right. To the south is Office Business District. To the west are R16s, and properties to the east and southeast are multifamily residential districts as well. The current accessory structure is built on the rear property line. We'll go to this beautiful view. I guess it doesn't have the property line. I'll be nice. Okay. Here. The current accessory structure is built on the rear property line, making it a legal non-conforming structure, and it does not meet the required 6-foot yard setback. The new addition would expand the nonconformity of the rear yard setback requirement 12 by 12 feet and 2 inches along the property line to the west. A requirement for a single-family residential garage is that it not exceed 900 square feet on the parcel less than 1 acre. The current garage is 668 square feet, and the expansion will increase it by 488 square feet, making the total area 1,156 square feet. The total area exceeds the requirement by 256 square feet. The expansion will encroach in the side yard setback, which requires a 3-foot setback, leaving only a few inches between the side of the new structure and the fence. And that is all I have for you guys.
I have a couple of quick questions.
Go for it.
Clarifications, really.
Okay.
The carriage house actually appears to be a living quarters, so it's not a garage. Does that in itself affect this out structure, or is the out structure intended to imply it's a barn or an actual garage, car, automotive, or storage kind of a garage? Because if it's a dwelling unit,
The applicant will probably be more able to explain.
well,
What the
I'm
purpose-
curious though, as
Okay.
far as application of the codes and the variance that then must be approved. Does it matter what the existing use is of the
No.
structure?
No.
So if it was a standalone, if you want to call it a lean-to or a carport or whatever, would that variance be required?
No, the square footage wouldn't, no, but we would require them to keep it 5 foot from that additional, since it's an additional accessory, it would have to be set back 5 foot from all other structures.
And there's no room to do that? That's a tight space.
No, there's not.
Okay, so all 3 of these variances that they're asking for have to be voted on each by themselves?
Correct.
Okay, I'll need your help at the beginning of each of those in order to specifically indicate the condition that we're voting on
Okay,
for them.
okay, I will do my best.
And in none of the options is it actually going to be an enclosed garage. It's just a open, I'll call it a carport, but it's just an open structure.
That is my understanding, yes.
So if it doesn't have any walls, then it's technically not a structure. It has no utilities. It has no walls.
Has a roof, though.
It
But
has a
whatever it-
roof, but it's gonna be attached to the main, to that structure, so it's gonna.
Or the option we're supposed to consider is not attached.
Yes, that's not
The
gonna work.
lean-to's gonna have to attach.
It's gonna have to be
Yes,
attached.
for the lean-to.
It's
it
gonna
would
have to be attached for building code purposes
But it says
as well.
standalone, the one on the right,
Yes, the
which means not attached.
building code wise is still, we're gonna have
So
to,
standalone was not even possible because of the 5-foot setback.
5 foot setback, and then they were,
Or we give the variance and then it can be butted up right against it. Either attached or not attached.
just, it can.
Well, I'm wondering, when do we vote on whether it's attached or not attached, or which of the three, or which do we
Well-
look at when we're doing the three?
It's being presented as attached because of the building code. This was provided just for general information in the beginning of the stages of this. Because the attachment went through building code and everything else. This is a prelim information that was provided to us. So since it's being attached, it triggers the extension and of the nonconformity and all the loveliness of all the setbacks that it's gonna be in. Either way, it's gonna be for sure the setbacks, but being attached, it does the nonconformity. So we cannot have a vote on the variance, it being a but to, or
So we have to
being
pick
detached.
one of these, and then that's what we vote on?
No, you're just gonna do the attached because the other one is not gonna be allowed by building code at all.
There's
Okay.
not a variance to
Unless they
allow
took-
an additional accessory structure. It's just an expansion of accessory structure. Right?
Right, sorry.
Yeah, could you explain that for the applicant?
So even next year's time, so Kevin and Angela McHugh, and so we did initially submit it as an option to go either way, standalone or not, or lean-to. But again, we're just, whichever applies, we didn't know that there was a code violation for the not attached. So that's new information to us.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just curious how, if you could explain that, ma'am. There is a code violation for a not attached canopy type
It's a
structure?
building code, so the IR or whatever, a fire code for the overlap, that's required for
Yeah,
accessories.
so, okay, so I mean, again, so literally, it's like Tough Sheds, hiring Lowe's or Home Depot to come in and just put a no walls roof canopy next to, now the variance would be applied, of course, the 3 foot, because it is with the tight space next to the adjacent property line.
Correct.
But, yeah, I don't know what the overhang would be. It'd be even with the roof line of the current carriage house, and not touching anything. It'd be standalone, essentially. So I don't know if that applies.
So you're a possible standalone next to the carriage house?
Yes, ma'am.
How close? Because you have to be at least 5 feet away.
For all,
So that's the variance, right? So that would be the variance.
So you have another variance because you
no,
have to be 5 feet away from each
it
accessory
would
structure.
not, because we would jump into the fire code at that point, and we can't do variances for those.
Okay, yeah, that's the piece that we hadn't talked
Well,
about, so
which
that's what you're saying.
I didn't know, they didn't tell you.
I understand, that's okay, no. So
What
I guess
if
then
they
we go
just
with the lean-to, sir.
What if they just extended the roof line?
Then that's fine, and then it's gonna trigger all three, and it would be basically a porch/carport.
It could be used for anything, like patio furniture.
But since it's extending a nonconformity and encroaching into the setbacks, it still triggers all the variances. Because it could, even if you did it on a regular house, it would still, if you were already encroaching into the required setbacks and you made a huge porch, you would still have to get a variance for that.
Yeah, I guess I don't see it as if you extend the roof as it being a separate structure.
It's not.
It's increasing the
It's
nonconformity.
increasing the nonconformity and encroaching into the side yard setback at that point.
What's the maximum square footage they could add to that out structure without it being non-conforming?
Oh, make me do some math.
I mean, it's a little space, so
Well,
Trying to make it
depends on
as
which
easy as
direction you're
possible.
going. If they're gonna increase the nonconformity along that
The west wall.
alley,
232 feet.
but regardless, if you're that's increasing nonconformity. If they build on the south side, that would be increasing nonconformity.
Because
But
the
they
building
wouldn't have to have the
itself,
physical separation that you were talking about.
If, even if it's attached, they could build to the south and have it attached, and that would not increase the nonconformity.
wait, what? It would increase because it's in,
But you're not actually increasing it on the nonconformity side. So you
correct.
can enlarge it as long as you're not increasing nonconformity, but they can only go the 232
200.
feet.
So the side yard setback is part of this equation that's the problem?
And the rear, since it's on the property line. Because let me get back over here.
No, yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah,
It's
so the
right up.
rear,
All the
'cause
other
it's-
garages down there are about 3 or 4 feet in.
correct. So that's legal non-conforming, that structure, and then since they're making it flush, extending it, that's another variance to allow it to be on there, unless they push it back to requirements, then we could toss that one.
So if they move the roof line of the addition to the south to make it, what, even with the other structures that are there?
Well, they can't go over the 232 square feet or whatever it was.
No, not yet.
No, he's
Combination.
saying the front, the
What-
building line.
If it's just a
Pushing it.
carport, what's the combination, what's the magic combination of things to minimize all of these variances? Has that been looked at, or were there any options that you worked with the applicant, and if you wanted it smaller, if you didn't want to attach it, if you just wanted to extend the roof line instead of a brand-new structure? Or you just took it at face value and brought it before us?
No, we discussed, several times we discussed his intent, and why he wanted it there, and his options.
What's the current distance between the existing structure on the west side to the
Fence line?
fence?
Fence line.
Oh,
Do you know, sir?
I do, sir. It's
Oh,
10 feet,
good.
10 feet, 6 inches, 10 feet, about 10
So it would
feet,
be
6.
impossible to shorten that to meet the side setback because you couldn't get a car in it.
Right, the side setback, but maybe not the, off the alley, but I guess,
But you couldn't
what's
do
the
it-
big difference if you're gonna request a variance?
You couldn't do it there either.
I'm just worried about how you can turn in there, because
In that alley?
it's
I've done
tight,
it, I've done
yeah.
it with a
It would be
full-size
tight.
vehicle.
Yeah,
It's a pretty big drive, alley.
'cause
all right, any other comments or concerns? Have the applicant up? Okay,
And then on the east side of the existing carriage house, the contour of the land wouldn't allow it there because they'd have to dig it all out.
That's correct, sir. The retaining wall goes around that side of the property.
Okay.
So, go ahead, please.
Please.
all right, thank you, sir.
I did have one question, sir, for
Oh.
you. This is,
I'll just figure.
to your west is your neighbor, and you are very close to his property. When I went out and looked at the forms and all that you had set already, has he given you any comments with regard to the proximity of the forms to his property?
Yes, sir. So she, Georgia, we've spoken about it several times. In fact, so, and she's okay with it. We've talked several times. And I think we did the submission as well for the 200-foot radius or 200-yard radius as well, so I'm curious if there's any other comments, but she is okay as we've talked.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
You've
we
received no comments?
yeah, we have
from
not
anyone?
received any comments for or against.
And her garage is actually on the property line.
Yes.
Well, so actually, I don't
The
know.
next- the next door neighbor?
She is set back, sir,
No, I know it's set back from the alley.
But
From
the
the alley,
the
but
fence,
but also from the fence line, she's set back probably 3 feet.
3 feet?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that if they get the variance, they're still gonna have to go through the building permit process, and so they're gonna talk about how, if he does the lean-to, how it's gonna have to be attached to the existing structure.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I can see it there.
And water coming off of it, will that be a
Yep.
part of the
Drainage.
building?
Yep,
yeah.
that's all their loveliness, public
Right.
works, building inspection side.
right. Any other questions for staff? Okay. All right. In that case, let's go ahead and open the public hearing. If anyone in the audience would like to speak either in favor of or against, or add any additional information, please come up to the podium. Seeing none, then I will close the public hearing and open it up for discussion amongst the board members.
I wish all of the applicants would, like the two did tonight, you know, kind of spell out their reasoning instead of just
Yeah.
one-page application. I think it's very helpful.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get it done.
So where do you currently park, sir?
Ma'am, on Pine Street,
On
to
the,
the
oh,
south of the property.
on the street?
Yes, ma'am. And the challenge obviously is with the weather coming, snow and everything else. There's safety of the vehicles, and we were here 5 years ago with hailstorms as well, and had some damage to vehicles.
I'm
as well.
familiar, yeah. Your paint job looks really nice, by the way.
Ma'am?
You painted the
Thank you
house,
so
looks
much.
really nice.
It's taken a long time, but we're getting there.
Okay. All right. A request for a variance may be granted upon the finding of the board that all the following conditions have been met. The board shall make a determination on each condition, and the findings shall be entered into the record. Does the staff have a preference on which of these ordinances we go with,
Nope.
or just as they're listed, 105, 403, and then 404?
You can go for it.
Well, could I suggest
Yes.
that we just kind of say, that it's the side setback, the rear setback, and the overall size. So on the first requirement, are we good with the side setback? And then just do the three with each?
Do the
with
first
each-
question, but
with
three
each
different
three.
answers?
Yeah. If we could do that.
Can they do that?
I don't know why we
Michelle?
couldn't.
Rather than go 1 through 5 for each of these separate ones, we go number 1
Straight across.
for
from 1 to
for
30.
the
Okay.
first variance, the second variance, the third.
Sounds
Okay,
good
just
to
let
me.
me know
We'll only have to
which order you
read
want
it
to do it in then, so
each
I
time
can make
once.
sure
Yeah,
I'm tracking
Good
this.
with that?
So let's do side setback, rear setback, overall size in that order, or whatever they have it.
It works.
I'm not committed.
Sounds like a plan.
works for me too.
Okay, so we're gonna start with side setback,
Rear setback.
and then,
Overall size.
perfect, got it.
So, yeah, for each one they go down.
Okay. Question number 1. That the variance requested arises from such condition which is unique to the property in question and is not ordinarily found in the same zone or district, and is not created by an action or actions of the property owners of the applicant. First under consideration is the side setback.
Just a minute, please.
Or I thought we were gonna do 1 through 3. Oh,
Three. That's for the side
Yes.
and the rear.
No. But yeah, that's
This is the non-conformity.
overall. Yeah, that's for the rear.
The non-conformity is gonna be for the rear.
Yes. And then the other one's for the overall.
Actually, it looks like one and the first one and the third one are both kind of overall size, but just in different terms.
Well, yeah, the first one is actually for the expansion, and the third one's for the size of the expansion, I think.
But the-
Okay,
yeah.
that's more accurate, yeah.
So what order do you guys want to do it on?
So the first one should,
4.03 first?
The
no,
one-
I
the
think the
105
first one should be expansion, and then the rear setback, and then the size of the expansion.
Okay.
1.15.
That's fine
So-
with me.
Okay, so it's gonna be conformancy, setbacks, overall.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got it? All right, you're good to go.
Commissioner Gervasini,
Clear as
would you
mud.
like to start?
I am confused.
Let's start
I'll
with
start.
Commissioner.
Go ahead.
I agree on all three.
Oh, okay. We're gonna,
Okay.
I agree on all three.
I agree on all three.
Guess that makes it my turn. So typically, I have a hard time with this very first condition, because of the last bit of it that says it's not created by the action or actions of the property owner or the applicant. However, I do feel in this particular case, there are some extenuating circumstances because of the slope of the property, the existing structures that are already there, they're already on the lot line, so I'm gonna say I'm in favor of all three.
And so am I. Then you throw in the kicker that it's a non-conforming use that's approved. All right, number 2, that the granting of the permit for the variance will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners or residences. Commissioner Gervasini, would you like to start off with this one?
As much as we don't have any negative comments from any of the neighbors, I agree.
I agree as well.
I agree, all three.
I agree on all three.
I agree on all three.
Third question, that the strict application of the provisions of the development regulations from which the variance is requested will constitute unnecessary hardship upon the property owners represented in the application.
I agree on all three.
So do I.
I agree on all three.
I agree on all three.
I agree on all three. Fourth, that the variance desired will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare.
I agree on all three.
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 So do I.
And lastly, that granting the variance desired will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of the development regulations.
I agree on all three.
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 Votes 5-0 on all three variance requests. In granting a variance, the board may impose such conditions, safeguards, and restrictions upon the premises benefited by the variance as may be necessary to reduce or minimize any potential injurious effect of such a variance upon other property in the neighborhood and to carry out the general purpose and intent of these development regulations.
I would suggest adding a restriction that and this probably is covered by their permit or the building codes, but that there be a gutter system on the west side so that the water doesn't just go flooding into the neighbor's yard.
We could say it's just drainage issues be addressed.
Well,
Or
what I want is that the water
Yeah.
doesn't go into the neighbor's yard. So
Right.
it should drain out into the alley. With the guttering system's the only way you could do it. Is that the plan?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Then it won't
Okay.
be hard to make that a requirement, since he's gonna do it anyway.
Is the intent to put a concrete floor on this also?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's not a condition I would put on.
That it include a concrete floor
Well,
or
it's
or a hard surface?
The intent is already to put a
Well,
concrete.
I've got Norton and Schmidt. It's an engineer company out of St. Joe, I believe. I've got them coming to do an assessment to make sure that we have the appropriate foundation and work done. So I can go either way with a gravel foundation or a concrete foundation.
I think you might run into difficulties with a gravel.
I don't think that's permitted by the building code, is it?
Then I think
Or zoning.
concrete's
Actually,
great.
it is, I think
It is
because-
allowed since it is coming off in an alley.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the permit process will.
But you might have some drainage problems with gravel. Having lived in that area and seen,
Right,
It may wash out into the alley and
Yeah,
then cause more problems than
which would be something they would
addressed in the permit process?
correct. Yep, building inspections would be the
Okay.
ones cracking down on that portion.
Any other concerns?
no,
Okay, so just the one official stipulation then
the
that
guttering.
install a guttering system? Okay. Okay. So the votes indicate an approval of the variance requests for all three of the issues with an additional recommendation or requirement of installing a guttering system. Okay. Any other items on the agenda or any other discussions?
No, we'll see you next month.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
There will be one?
do we have two? What about the Kung Fu Tea people? Did they not get their?
Well, if there's one, we'll be here, so you can add 2 or 3.
Yeah, we have one. It's a sign placement, not multiple. Now Kung Fu Tea, did they get all their stuff in?
Close enough.
Kung Fu Tea?
Could we get more than a Friday to Monday notification? Like as soon as you present to the city manager or whoever has to do a chop on it, then you give us a heads up?
The city manager he does not receive the policy reports until noon on Thursday, so we don't even get them back on Friday.
No, but has he ever?
I can give you a heads up if there's a meeting or not.
Yes, the meeting, that's what yes.
Absolutely.
Just that there will be an agenda.
We
item
will
on the
have
meeting.
one for sure
A
next
meeting will
month.
be held on that day of one item pending approval of the city manager or something like
Yep,
that.
I can do that, yeah. But next month we definitely,
Yeah,
Okay,
but yes, I can start doing it like a week in advance or something maybe.
because by the time I read it, you're gone home Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Thanks.
Thank you. So if you could just do that, please.
Absolutely.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.